why weren't we showing that video footage first thing Saturday so that we didn't anguish quite as much?
So there's a lot of issues still to be resolved here.
There'll be a lot of issues that will be coming out in coroner's reports. There'll be a lot of issues come out when they do a full royal inquiry, because it won't be a local inquiry at all. It's too big for that.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. So that was Laurie Drew speaking to us there, the father of Zen Drew, who is, of course, one of the men down in the mine, as we hear that a second explosion has taken place at 2:37 this afternoon, in which police say no one would have been able to survive.
Kate King, an extraordinary interview there with Laurie Drew, the father of Zen Drew, just turned 21 years old and just new in his job, always wanted to be a miner, and there he is, one of the 29 men who have succumbed to this tragedy. Let's go back now to Karen Rutherford, and Karen has also been speaking to family members of the men down in the Pike River mine, and I just wonder, Karen, where to from here for these devastated
Eric,
people?
I had a very lengthy conversation not long ago with Dean Dunbar. Now, Dean is the father of Joseph Dunbar, the youngest member in that mine. He was just 17 years old. Dean Dunbar sobbed his heart out on the phone to me with regards to, I just want to bring my boy home. He has gone back to Christchurch. He is now making his way back to Greymouth because he wants to be able to bring his boy out and to give him some dignity and to be able to bury him. Now, his mother, Joseph's grandmother, had a turn last night. So you see the toll that this is taking on not just the immediate relatives, but those way down the line as well. We understand that Michael Monk's friends, now Michael is the young chap, the son of publican Bernie Monk. He is, his friends are coming from overseas. They've come back from OEs. There are friends of his coming from Wellington. And this was even before they heard the news. So you can be sure that Greymouth is going to swell in numbers in the days to come, with relatives, friends, family, people supporting those that are going through this terrible, terrible situation. Excuse me. Even Peter Whittle said today that he has had phone calls, emails, faxes from friends that he has not seen for a decade at least, supporting him in this time. There is a huge amount of support for the people that are going through this. The Prime Minister is about to make a statement. He will be speaking at 6:30 tonight in the Beehive, a media conference to give his perspective on it. But surely there will be not only an inquiry, but there will be also an awful lot of grieving in the days, weeks, months and years to come here in this very small region.
So many terrible, tragic stories are emerging from this Pike River tragedy. Joseph Dunbar, just one of them, Karen, 17 years old, the youngest person caught in the mine blast on his first day down the mine. Let's go now to an interview with the Grey District Mayor, Tony Cockshawn.
Well, look, it was too short, the meeting. It got started as normal. There's quite a lot of optimism because of the fact the robots were getting down there, and they came in, they said, look, we've got some news. We had to go up there today for an assessment of the risk to see if our search and rescue crew could come in, so we're assessing the gases. He says, while we were there was an enormous explosion. He says, there's no way anyone could have survived it. He says, it was far larger than the first one, and at that point it was the end. It was the end. Everyone just was cracked up, and it was the end of the conference, and there was some anger.
Anger at who, Tony?
Directed at the police. Certainly not at Mr Whittle. Everyone got nothing but praise for Mr Whittle. At that point, we just started consoling each other. Simple as that. But there's some distraught people. I tell you, it's unbelievable. This is the West Coast darkest hour. I'm telling you, it doesn't get worse than this.
Any idea of the cause?
Just.
Excuse me. Can't I go away? Can't I just stop?
No, it's okay then. Come on, I'll be there. What was the question? Cause? The cause was the build-up over the last 6 days of the gases again, and they noticed that this morning there's a big build-up of gases, and obviously a lethal mixture ignited the entire mine, and they are now sending in the search and rescue crews, which is ironic, straight away.
So
They said that
rescue
they are
team's going straight in now?
them into the mine now to try to recover the bodies.
Why are they able to do that?
I don't know. I suppose, as I said on quite a few media places in the last day, the old timers told me that the best time to enter a mine is straight after an explosion.
They're all local guys down there now?
Oh, I don't know nothing else, sorry. All I know is our men are gone.
Mates.
Tony, the families though, I mean, we've been asking for days now about wanting to know one way or the other. Now they know. That reaction in there, how do you describe it? How do you...
The reaction in there is just devastation. They just, they don't know what to do. They just sobbed openly and just fell to the floor. And many people were just shouting out anger. Simple as that. They were just sickened by the whole thing. And a lot of them felt sort of misled, but let's concentrate just on our people that we just lost and our families. It's as simple as that, honestly. It's our darkest day.
Kate,
I've got a lot of respect for
you can
families,
see
but
there is
I've been
Peter
working
Whittle, the
with
Chief
the last
Executive
5 days.
of Pike River Mine. Let's go to the media
Working
conference now.
They've been very supportive of us. We've tried to be as supportive of them as we could. They've got a terrible, terrible thing to deal with now. I hope you all continue to respect that. I hope you continue to let them start their grieving process and give them a bit of space. My love and support are with those guys and with the rest of my staff, many of whom went off to have a beer, and many of whom are gathered right now and were yet to be told what had happened while I was telling the families in there. They'll know by now, no doubt.
Is it possible any of the rescue measures you took sparked the second explosion?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No, this has come from somewhere up in the mine. We weren't doing anything in the mine other than in the fresh air, and that wouldn't have caused any explosion. All of the other things that people were saying we should try possibly could have, but I'm absolutely confident that the measures that were being taken up there by the rescue teams and by all the men on site were absolutely correct and absolutely right, and to the best of my knowledge, absolutely nothing that was being done up there has caused this. It was a natural eventuation that could have occurred on the second day, it could have occurred on the third day, and it's occurred today.
Just how big was this, would this explosion have been, Peter, especially compared to the first blast?
No, I don't. I don't know where the first blast has occurred. I don't know where the second blast has occurred. But as I don't have a plan with me this time, but as I've explained on the plan before, the mine would have been filling up with gas. It would have already had gas in it. What I do know is the borehole that we were measuring from today was measuring about 95% methane, which means that couldn't have exploded there. But it does mean that further down the hill, further out towards the entrance of the mine, there would have been a fringe of explosive gas, and then that volume of gas that was behind it would have provided a very large amount of energy.
Do you have an idea if there's any risk of further explosions? Are there experts able to tell you that?
Well, that's then an ongoing issue, and that's one of the things that my team up there are going to have to start assessing tonight. Is what next? What do we do with the mine? Regardless of what's happened, if the men are no longer alive, and which is most likely, I still want them back, and their families want them back, and we'll be doing everything we can to make that happen. We can't still go into an unsafe mine. It's just as unsafe now as it was 2 hours ago. The gas will still be coming out of the coal. There's still an ignition source. There's no doubt still burning methane from that explosion. But we want our boys back, and we want to get them out.
Do you think Pike River will ever be mined again?
I just can't comment on that at this stage. The coal mine seam is stable. There's gas in the mine. This has been an event. It's just I can't comment on that.
Peter, are you correct? No, I'm correct in thinking that you're saying that the trending of the gas was starting to look more favourable, or not?
That's
prior to the explosion.
Well, all I can say is that the rescue teams had sufficient data for the first time to collect that group into the same room and analyse it with a more positive view to being able to get underground. But it wasn't able to be full. That rescue assessment had to be stopped because it was evident that it wasn't safe.
John, is there any chance? Why are you not answering questions? Is there any chance that anyone could have survived? Is there any chance? Is there any chance that anyone could have survived?
I'm advised and I've come here straight from the mine very quickly to give everyone as much news as I could. I'm advised that on the strength of this and on the evidence of it, it's extremely unlikely.
May I ask who's advising you, Peter?
I was at the mine site with the management team and with the other services that are up there. And I was there and I saw it myself, and I've got the advice of, I won't give individuals, but I've got advice of a very competent team.
Peter, what's happening at the mine at the moment? Does the measuring of the gases in there continue, or was work going on with the robots? Is that one continuing?
No. I would imagine the work with the robots won't continue at this stage. We will continue to monitor gas if it's safe to do so. I'm not sure what the status of the borehole is that we were measuring from, but if we can continue to monitor, we will, because this is still an ongoing operation. We still have to understand how we can re-enter the mine, or what we need to do about the mine, how we can deal with what we've got, because we've still got 29 men in there, and we need to get them out.
Gary Knowles said that was the hardest thing he's ever had to do today, deliver that news for you. How was it in that?
I'm sorry, there was too many people.
Gary Knowles said it was the hardest thing he's ever had to do, deliver that news to the families today. What was it like in that room for you?
Well, it was actually me that delivered the news today, and so I fronted the families by myself and gave them the news. It was hard. Obviously, they've looked to me for hope, and they've looked to me for keeping them informed and to let them know what's going on, which I've tried to do as factually and clearly as I could right the way through. What happened up there wasn't because of the guys that were working up there. The police can now deal with what's going on. They're still responsible, but it was my task, and I wanted to tell the families.
Peter, you just recorded. That's it.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Please, Peter, he wants to be with the families over there.